Thank you everyone for once again attending our monthly North End Public Safety meeting, especially on such a rainy, dreary night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, my name is David Marks. I serve on the North End Waterfront Neighborhood Council, and I am our Public Safety Committee Chair. Once again, the committee consists of one person, that is myself. Captain Fong, Sergeant Shin, you know who that is. So we'll get started.
This talk to be taken. There's nothing on the front page. All right, so it's great to see everybody here. I'll just kind of go over some of the crime stats that we had for the last month and some of the arrests that occurred also. I think a sheet, you should have a sheet. She went around with the crime statistics, so, you know, no homicides. There was one sexual assault, which I'll go into some detail on. No robberies, no aggravated assaults. There was one breaking and entering, one auto theft, and a couple of larcenies as well. And then, as you can see, 140 citations and 329 parking tickets issued during this one. So I'm going to jump right into the sexual assault because I know kind of there was a lot of concern about it. And I'll talk about the incident. What happened, this was October 18th at about 3:08 a.m. There was a woman that was walking down Salem Street back home to her apartment on Carlston Street. And she believed she was being followed, and she gets to a door. When she gets to a door, the suspect approaches her, and she says, God bless you, and she says, you know, something to the effect of, can I help you? And he says, I live here. And, you know, she says, no, you don't. And then the suspect grabs the victim inappropriately, and her pants get torn. Now this victim, Tough Cookie, punches the suspect in the head and delivers a knee strike to his groin. So she wasn't messing around, which it's nice to hear sometimes. The suspect took off. He was described as a Hispanic male in his early 30s, about 5'6", with black spiked hair, a white soccer-style zip-up jacket, and blue jeans. He took off, and then a description was broadcast on the internet. So when the officers arrived, we got the description, and this was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We called in the investigators from the sexual assault unit as well as detectives from District 1, and we began contacting businesses in the area, particularly on Salem Street, for their video cameras. And there were 3 establishments that had pretty good video of the incident, and, you know, it showed that this guy was following the victim up Salem Street before they made the turn onto Charleston. So the officers looked at the video, and the officers from District 1 had encountered the suspect earlier in the evening, and they said, yeah, we saw that guy earlier, we got his name. With his name, we were able to get the registry, you know, registry of motor vehicle information, driver's license information, and it took about a part of the day to track him down. The guy was from Fall River, and during the whole process, you know, the victim had to do an identification process. These meetings had to take place with the district attorney's office, and then also the suspect had to be tracked down. He was tracked down to Fall River when the fugitive unit, we have a fugitive unit that apprehends wanted suspects, went down there to get him. A warrant was sought for the person's arrest, and the Fall River Police assisted us in grabbing him. So the suspect was placed under arrest. He was brought back into District 1 and booked. So a lot of guys worked and gals worked very hard on the case because we wanted to obviously get that quickly. We had kind of concern that would cause in the community. And it was great work by the guys that, particularly the guys that happened to see him earlier, they had stopped him because he was drunk, and we got his name. So, and then on the video, some of the things that came out on the video was that his clothing was you know, he had like camouflage boots, so some certain things in his clothing stood out, so that helped in identifying him. And then the victim, you know, she was great. She was Tough Cookie, and you know, she helped all along the way. So that case went well.
Sure, I can jump in real quick. Great example of just great police work in collaboration, you know, not just BPD, but a lot of times they have to work with other neighboring communities and communities that are further away. The first I heard of this incident, just as a quick follow-up, was from a wonderful resident in the North End. Who got in touch with me on Facebook, I think that day, so this was now Saturday afternoon, about 12-something p.m., and said, hey David, I just got a call, I just received word about an incident, did you hear about it? I think it took place at 3 in the morning, you know, about 9 hours ago. I hadn't heard about it at that point in time, but as soon as I did, from a gracious resident, I said I would get in touch with Captain Fong, and got in touch with Captain Fong, and we were on the phone, and we also exchanged text messages sporadically from that point on at about midday, culminating with a final text message from the captain that evening, letting me know that the suspect had indeed been arrested in Fall River. And as soon as I got that information and got back in touch with Captain Fong, I said, Captain Fong, I'd like to pass that along to Matt Conti, NorthEndWaterfront.com. And he said that would be fine. And Matt had already had an article up, an initial article reporting on the incident. And so I gave him the information so that he could update it, and he updated immediately so that everyone could know right away that they had a suspect in custody. So, you know, if there's any other way, if things can happen very quickly. The police know that much more than I do, but I think we could all agree with that. So it's all about disseminating information to the public, and I just wanted to point that brief follow-up out to everybody, because if there's any way I can continue to be instrumental in just sending out the word. Of course, it all begins with Matt's website, but if there's any way I can augment or help, I'm here to do that. Thanks again for the great work, and thanks for always staying in touch with me.
And thanks, Matt, for that. By the way, Matt beat the Globe and Herald in getting that out, so great job there.
Somebody help you, Matt?
These guys help.
And just as a side note, we did add some additional officers down to the North End during that day, just because we knew there might just be some, you know, concern about the incident. And then when it did happen, we just wanted to be able to spread the news to people in the community as well. So, you know, all in all, you know, it worked out well. Unfortunately, there was a victim in this case, but, you know, at least the guy was apprehended.
Is there any indication that he may be involved in any of the prior ones?
No, not at this time. The breaking and entering, there was one that occurred during the last month, and that happened at 21 Margaret Street. And in this case, this happened on October 27th at about 8:20 a.m. was when it was reported. The victim said that when she came home from work, she found the front door to her apartment closed but unlocked. The bedroom light was on, and somehow, you don't know how entry was gained, 2 laptops were stolen. 2 Apple laptops were stolen, valued at $1,100 and $1,200 each. No visible signs of forced entry. And Detective Hartgrove from District 1 is following up on that investigation now. And there was one auto theft, that was at 415 Hanover Street on October 20th at 7:30 p.m. And that was, it involved a 2005 Lexus RX 330. And that vehicle was left running in front of Lucia at 415 Hanover Street. And a person jumped in the car and drove off with his keys, you know, keys were in it. The valet, thank you. And just one, there were 7 larcenies, but just one notable one that I want to point out. This happened on November 1st at 2 a.m. at 50 Salem Street at Goody Glover's. And officers received a call for larceny in progress, and the victim said that she realized her purse with her belongings had gone missing inside. So she began looking for her purse, and she asked her friend to call her phone because her phone was in her handbag. The phone was called and didn't get any response, but they used her friend's Find My iPhone app, and she was able to locate the phone in her bag behind the bar of the restaurant. So yeah, that was great use of the app. And the bartender, you know, denied seeing the bag, but the victim went behind the bar and grabbed her bag out of the suspect/bartender's bag. The bartender fled the store before the police arrived, the restaurant before the police arrived, and the owner of the bar stated that he also believed that the bartender attempted to steal the bag. So, you know, if he's going to hire a bartender, and you know, they must think that they must obviously have reason to believe that she took it, but so criminal complaints being sought.
That happened to be the last night Goody Glover's was in business. Coincidentally or not, it's
Yeah.
on the final night of operation, they close them. It's just all.
And so there were 5 arrests in the North End for this time period. The first was on October 13th at about 4 in the afternoon at the 7-Eleven at 464 Hanover Street. And that was an individual who punched the front glass of the store and broke it. And the witness said that the suspect became violent, punched the front door. And the suspect was well known to the police. He has a history of violent behavior. And he actually broken the glass of the 7-Eleven in the past. He was arrested and transported to District 1 and charged with willful and malicious destruction of property over $250.
What happened to know if he was a North End resident? What he said?
He is,
Only because he said they were familiar with him, which could be one thing, you know.
yeah, he's homeless. He's a 49-year-old homeless gentleman. And there was the indecent assault and battery arrest from Charleston Street. And then at 218 Hanover Street by Cross, this was on October 22nd at 10:15 a.m. at the CVS. There was a theft of vitamins, essentially mostly all vitamins, valued at a couple $100 that was stolen. And the store security officer grabbed them, and that suspect was placed under arrest. And then there was a leaving the scene of a motor vehicle accident involving personal injury. This was on October 27th at 4:15 p.m. This happened over at 113 Endicott Street. And the call came in for 2 people struck, 2 pedestrians struck at 113 Endicott Street. And the motor vehicle continued on Endicott Street and went on to Thatcher. And the victims said they were struck by the motor vehicle's right side mirror that was left at the scene. There was an injury to laceration to the hip, and subsequently, the suspect actually was observed by a DEA agent who later identified the suspect. And that suspect, the DEA agent contacted the Boston Police Department. The suspect was stopped, and the agent was able to identify him, explain what happened, and that suspect was placed under arrest for leaving the scene of a personal injury accident. And then the last arrest was on November 1st at 9:27 a.m. This was at 18 Cooper Street. Officers responded to a call for a suspicious individual. And they saw a guy carrying 2 buckets, 2 5-gallon, like white plastic buckets, and a red plastic bag. And inside were a large quantity of like Tide detergent, Listerine bottles, Colgate toothpaste, Dove men's body wash, deodorant, Axe body spray. So there was a bunch of that stuff, all believed to be stolen, had all the price tags on it. And the woman that was with them, she had a warrant. She was arrested on the warrant, and then that suspect who had the stolen property, he was summoned for receiving stolen property. That property was believed to be stolen from the CVS store. And that is all I have for police incidents for the month. David has a question?
Yes.
Thank you.
In the last few years, when there's a higher number than average as far as the number of larcenies are concerned, I know there was at least one time where they believed the police determined there was a father-son, or maybe 2 friends that were working together. They were believed to have been responsible for a whole series of incidents that took place within that month, and they all took place within the same small area, the radius. So I noticed that there were 7 in the last 30 days,
Yes.
and I know you pointed out one notable one. Were those other 6, did they take place all around the North End? Any suspicion as to whether they're related to one another, or just all separate incidents committed by different people? Just curious.
No, we always look for trends and patterns in thefts. And here it is right here. We always look for trends and patterns in thefts, and so actually I have them right here. So I'll just cover them real briefly. One was at 1 Michelangelo Street. This was a lottery ticket that was taken from his lockbox inside his apartment. So that was inside his apartment. The second was at 585 Commercial Street. This was a cell phone that was stolen at work while she was at the Elliott School. 226 Hanover Street. This was a handbag that was taken at Luca, 226 Hanover Street, inside the restaurant. There was one at 440 Commercial Street, and that was were FedEx packages that were taken out of the lobby. For some reason there. Yep, shoplifting arrest at 218 Hanover Street, that's the vitamin pills. And then 374 North. And that was also, this says, what does it say? A package also taken off the steps.
All right, because usually they tend to be residential break-ins, but this, the last 30 days, obviously it's mixed bag.
Yeah, to make total mixed packages.
That's not usually what happens. Okay.
Yeah, so we always try to be alert for patterns of, you know, whether it's suspects, whether it's time of day, or whether it's location, whether it's, you know, anything that we'll look for those patterns and we'll get it.
You'll get a lot of those package stuff the end of November and December, right?
Yep.
Like picking up stuff.
Yeah.
So your advice to people would be, a lot of these companies, these leave the stuff
We need
there.
the packages there.
What's to prevent that? Is, I mean,
The best thing would be to ship, to ship the package. If you can have the ship, if you can have it set to sign up, to sign for the package, or to have the package shipped to either work or a friend's house or neighbor that you know is going to be home.
You know, if you order stuff online, you can, in the comments box, you can say, you know, require signature, you know, upon delivery. That way, you know, someone has to sign for it, and say if it's UPS or if it's the postal service, no one's there to sign for it, they'll just bring it back to the post office, the closest one, and they'll leave a note for you to pick it up. So that'll prevent somebody from just coming by and seeing them. Of course, if you see like a laptop box or something, someone's gonna be like, oh, take that laptop.
And if you see any suspicious individuals lurking around that might be grabbing these bags, it could be some young kids, it could be somebody, you know, it's kind of an opportunistic thing because there's no inner lobby door sometimes, or it's on another step, and someone goes by and sees the package and they just grab it. And a lot of, you know, the companies are, they just want to deliver all as many packages as quickly as they can. So they're not like, I don't think they even ring bells anymore. When they give the packages, they just leave them there. They don't even try to find the bell. Because they're, you know, they're not a lot of trusted packages. So. Yes, sir?
Another possibility is, I know the UPS store up at the beginning of Commercial Street where I live will accept packages. I think they charge you a fee, but if you have something valuable, they accept it, but it'd be worthwhile. And I wonder if John at Prince Postale will do that also.
So Officer Jenna Cully just entered the room, and Jenna is, as you can see, has a cast on her leg. Last night, probably everybody heard last night, that Jenna works the overnight shift in the North End. She's the walk and beat down on the midnight shift. On the overnight, it was actual, I was here till about midnight, there was two individuals were shot in Charlestown. Two guys were shot in Charlestown. And then about 3 a.m., there was a call for shots fired. So Jenna responded to the shots fired call in Charlestown and stopped the car that she believed may have been involved. And sure enough, the guys wouldn't get out of the car. There was a gun in the car. There was a .380 caliber Lawson pistol in the car. And Jenna, along with the anti-crime officers and other officers, actually had to wrestle the guy out of the car. And the struggle, Jenna sustained a little injury. So we wish Jenna a quick recovery. So yeah, I don't know what I don't know what Jenna's exact injury. I don't know why they didn't the laws, but so Jenna works the midnight shift, and Jenna, I'll give you, you want to just give yourself a little intro.
I try to introduce myself to as many people as possible if I do overtime shifts. I don't know if any of you have met. I know a couple faces, but someone is here throughout the night. I'm here midnight to 7:30. I try to do like what we call code 19s. It's kind of like a walking beat, just more of a presence in certain areas. Towson Street's definitely one of my main target areas. North Bennett, just because I know there was been concern about kids in the parks. So that's another, all the parks I go by, make sure there's no one hanging out, drinking, etc. And then if I see someone walking home alone, I'll walk with them. I know there was a lady visiting her mom over at the apartments right off of Michelangelo Place. So she was helping her mom walk her dog. It was late at night, so I just walked with her. She's like, thank you very much. Just little things like that. I just want you all to feel safe. And then of course, I am in full uniform, yes. Yep, and in a marked cruiser usually. I take a cruiser because I can cover more ground in a short period of time. I mean, if you have any concerns, I know the kids drinking in the parks, it's not too much of an issue. I do want to let you know, like on the midnight shift, usually they're cleared out. There's been a few times that I have seen people in the parks. I've made multiple arrests in different parks, in Christopher Columbus Park, the Gassy Park. But if not, I'm very reasonable. I'm not trying to jam any of the kids up, and it's not just the kids. I have seen adults there hanging out. Some are causing an issue, most aren't. They're just sitting there before they go home at night. But I'm very reasonable. I talk to them, I introduce myself, give them multiple warnings. If they comply, then that's fine. I do what is called an FIO. It's more for me to get to know the community better. It's hard for me because I don't know many of you because I am on midnight shift and most normal people are sleeping at that hour. I don't know. I know I walked around, I picked up overtime on Halloween. I saw the little kids, which actually was my first Halloween. They were all trick-or-treating at the storefronts and the restaurants, so I went into most of them on Hanover Street, just introducing myself, because most of those shops are closed on midnight shift too, except Bova's and I'm sure Pompeii and R2. There's a couple that are still open, but I know them. I don't know, does anyone have any concerns or anything for me that you want me to keep an eye on?
I just think it's nice. I didn't know we had that. That's wonderful.
And that's why when I see people, if I pick up overtime, I try to introduce myself to as many people as I can. Names, on the other hand, I may not remember, but
That's great.
and once an officer starts writing down your name and where you're from, it's like, oh, you're not in trouble, but just, how do you remember it?
It's very good. Yeah, it's good.
I don't know if anyone has any concerns or anything in specific areas at certain times.
Is it 911 or do you have a certain number we call?
911, I don't.
And yeah,
where's-
911 for everything, so that way
No
it
matter
goes through our
what.
dispatches, no matter what, parking complaints, parties.
And it's on record. I know one of the complaints was loud parties. I know it's college season, there's a lot of college kids in the area. That is still an issue. I think it's always gonna be an issue. It's definitely, in my experience and what calls I've responded to and heard over the radio, I don't think it's as bad as it was because we are cracking down. But with that being said, I'm very reasonable. I can't speak for all the officers, and I don't want to speak for, I'm trying to put this in a way. But they are college kids. Everyone's been there. No one's trying to jam anyone up. But with that being said, there's some sort of respect that you have to show your neighbors in a certain time. That's it. There's no more leeway.
I think a lot of it, like you say, is the weekends. So a lot of
Yes,
those
yes.
weekends.
And that's a little difficult. Now, we actually got more officers on the midnight shift. So I am able to stay in the north end on the weekends. Before, I know I was getting pulled out of the north end to help at clubs, and now I'm every night, pretty much the whole time I'm in the north end, unless something happens, like last night.
Has anyone said anything to you about perhaps 177 Endicott Street on the second floor and/or Cleveland Place? Cleveland Place is, you know, obviously a smaller street, but that seems, I've heard repeated, I don't have details unfortunately, I wish I did, but I have heard repeated complaints coming from really up and down Cleveland Place. And very recently, in the last couple of weeks, 177. I didn't know if that was anything you heard of.
No, I haven't.
And it's been communicated to proper city officials, I believe, and whatnot.
Just another thing with the loud party calls, a lot of times we have issues if you call the loud party line, that's fine. But what we're running into as an issue is we can't get into the buildings to actually confront the loud party. There's no way, because no one will answer the buzzers, and the buzzers are broken. And I mean, that's...
Traffic of those big things you sling and break down the door.
Just stop using that after the leg wins. And just to follow up on the loud parties, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just want to tell, last weekend, on 78 French Street, near Rollins, Pasialis,
Yes.
there was a group of kids, I know it was Halloween night, but still, they were acting up, and I assisted her out the window, and I was trying to tell them to keep quiet and stuff. And they actually jumped up and was hitting the sign, Pasialis bakery sign, trying to break it.
Oh, that's
You know,
because
she didn't
off that night.
she didn't want to make it too much of a noise because, you know, we have our family and friends that are in the bakery, and then you know
Right.
what happened if they came out.
Right.
And see, no one was there on Friday night, Halloween night.
That,
And they were trying to break this, they hit the sign. I'm sure if you got both his cameras, we would see who they were. But because if she called, and, sorry, oh, the girl was urinating, and I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm masturbating. And my, you know,
Did somebody-
nice thing to say.
Matt, take that off.
Yeah, is that a nice thing to say? You know, would you like to say that to your mother? You know,
Did somebody
I
say
mean,
Did somebody call 911 on that?
she was going to, but you figure by the
By
time
the time,
911
okay.
come, they would have
Yes.
gone. Those
So we,
kids
you know, we would still encourage everybody to call, so we have a record of it.
Don't you guys have cameras?
Yeah, I don't know.
Offices, cameras.
She said bogus, I thought you were just asking her partiality.
Well, but I don't mind it inside.
Both is definitely one of the spots that I go to and hang out at.
It's not bad.
Especially after the bars close, because who doesn't want food after?
And so, you know, on the loud parties, when we get party complaints, whether it's, you know, Rich Grealish and our officers go, or one of the regular kind of party calls, what we usually do is, and Teddy keeps a list right here, we send the officers there, they'll shut the party down, but then we'll follow up. We'll follow up the following, typically on the following Monday, because it happens on the weekend, so Teddy will follow up on Monday, and we'll go by the house, and Teddy will have a conversation with the tenant in question or the management company to kind of basically, you know, let them know what type of behavior is appropriate and that a lot of the parties are unacceptable. Yes?
I think I know what she means is that they weren't having an actual party, but as they walk down the street,
Right, sure, no,
they
yeah,
yell and
yeah.
scream and hit the
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
sign.
no, yeah.
So by the time we do call you, they're probably already gone. So it's just nice that maybe she can start, especially Salem Street between 1 and 2 o'clock. I don't know if that's just because the trains are closing and they're trying to get to the trains, but it's just obnoxious sometimes.
Right.
And as they walk by, they hit every stop sign, every sign that says do not park here. They have to bang every sign as they walk down the street. It's just, I don't know why, right?
Yeah.
So maybe now that she's around, you can take note of like Salem Street and, you know, the streets that kind of lead to or from the market, because I think that's where they're either heading to the trains or coming back from Faneuil Mall or something like that between like 1. I know when it's 3 o'clock because it gets quiet. In the middle of the night.
Friday and Saturday, the train stations are open.
Yeah, but after 3 o'clock, when it starts to get really quiet, and then I say, all right, it must be 3 o'clock.
Any other questions or concerns, comments?
I have a request.
Yes, sir.
December 5th,
Yep.
the 25 shops in the North End, they have their annual holiday stroll.
Okay.
I think it starts around 5, and they usually stay late night, maybe 11. You may want to have your people that really take a look, be around in those areas.
Yeah, well, plenty of coverage. Okay.
Right? That's That's all, it's just stop there, they hold it. So there'll be cops all over there.
I'd like to say something about, I was walking down Hanover Street and I crossed Cross Street. It was in the afternoon and a few days ago, and a car turned right around. I had the walk light, but a car just turned anyway and came within inches of me. And frankly, a few weeks ago, I saw this kind of thing happen before, but I thought I was safe because I had the walk light. And a few years ago, there were traffic directors. There was a traffic guard very close to there. I was just wondering if we could bring one back on Cross Street. This one was crossing Tileston where the traffic guard was, but it's just one short block away.
What time of day was that?
It was early afternoon, I think, about 1. I don't remember the details, but you know, the car just turned on me and was literally stopped, literally inches away from me. And I definitely had the walk light. I thought that made me safe, but it just didn't.
He's got the green light, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's no hesitation on that light.
So on Hanover Street, he's talking about where cross
To
is.
get the walk, like you
Oh,
said,
but
the
you
light
can take a
turns
right
green.
on that.
Yeah.
It is good. All right.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
Anything about
I've seen this kind of thing before. I thought I was safe because I had walked, but I wasn't. Okay, thanks.
Officer Kyle is on that.
Travis got it,
Take a
baby.
right there where the light is red.
Stats will be up.
All right, any other concerns? Actually, one quick mention, North End Against Drugs Family Dinner is going to be on Monday, 11/17 at 5:30 p.m. here. Any other concerns?
I just had a quick question. I want to commend Nicole Leo for all the work that she's done, you know, canvassing the North End. Detailed focus notes about any issues, you know, of trees that need to be replaced in the springtime, obviously not now. But my second thing I wanted to say was, is there anything that you came across in doing canvassing the neighborhood that would be relevant to public safety as far as something that could be a hazard or something could even just easily trip? I mean, anything like that, not crime related. I know
No,
that.
they were all trip hazards. Tons
That's
of
what I
them.
figured,
Yeah.
okay. Any particular hot spots, or is it like just scattered everywhere?
They were everywhere, yeah.
Okay.
I know when we were doing the walkthrough, we mentioned the lights in Gassy Park where the stairs are. That's a big issue too.
Yes.
They're coming.
The gates for the dog park. So when they put the dog park, they'll do the pilot May 1st, the gates will go up. 7-foot gates, they're coming.
It's just a question which has nothing to do with safety. Well, I think it is. How do I stop getting the Cisco 18-wheelers coming up Battery Street instead of Hanover? I stopped one of them after I saw the third one come by, and I asked him, why are you men coming up Battery Street with 18-wheelers? I've been here for 35 years. Never saw an 18-wheeler coming up Battery Street. And his answer was, well, we don't want to go to the stoplight and then take the left on Hanover Street. I said, but you still got to stop when you come up to the end of Battery, and then you've got an 18-wheeler, and that's quite a heck of a turn. So how do I stop these 18-wheelers going up Battery Street? Who do I call
Yeah, I
for?
don't know, that's not posted.
Cisco?
What about the
Is it
truck
posted over
team?
there? That's not posted.
No buses are supposed to come.
That's right, no buses. You're right, no buses.
And they have been.
That'd be a truck team.
Yeah, so we have a commercial vehicle enforcement unit, so we call it the truck team. We'll pass that along to them.
I appreciate
You really
that.
can't do anything about it, because you can, it's on there.
Yeah, if they can legally make the turn.
But, but their reason for not going beyond Battery is because they don't want to
That
stop at
happens
the
in every
stop sign.
community, they take different, people drive in the bike lane to go right now. I mean, how do you stop a driver from making an illegal turn?
Wait a minute, what was that
There's a
again?
stoplight at Battery and Commercial.
That's correct.
Right.
They just don't want to
They
make two
stop
stops.
there, but they don't want to stop at the next one also. So they come up Hanover, Battery Street. But it's a very dangerous thing to do because if you're making that turn and you don't even see the truck coming, you're dead. Because they don't slow down, they just boom right away, because they gotta make that turn perfect, you know? But it's very, very aggravating to see. I've been sitting out there for 35 years, sitting outside in front of my house, and I see these three-wheelers, I mean, these 18-wheelers come by with all the fumes, and I got emphysema as it is, and I can hardly breathe. So after the third one, I had to stop and ask
Well, yeah, we'll
why.
definitely have the commercial vehicle enforcement, we'll take a look at that.
Thank you, I
Thank you very much.
appreciate that very much.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.